Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 27th day of January, 2020. Well, I hope everybody had a good weekend. I wrote like a mad woman all weekend long. It was nutty. I had to do I had some more affiliates I had to do landing pages for, and I got everybody done but one. And so that I'll have to finish that today, but the weekly Rune and Moon is up. So is a post that I did. I'm going to start a new series on empath forecast. How empaths look at astrology may be a little bit different than how normal people would, because we're thinking about, okay, how are we going to deal with the energies in each day? So I don't know. I just saw something in it this time. I've kind of been thinking about this of late, but I took the information that I used for the weekly Rune and Moon and I extrapolated from that an empath forecast. So I think I'm going to start doing that. That'll be a series. So that's up on the blog. It's also over at the Patreon page. If you want to sign up for a tier over there and support my work there, it's over there. It's public though, not private. For patrons only or anything, because it's on the blog, so I can't very well make it for patrons only there if it's everywhere else. So but that's up. Also, something I call, I just had something come out of me called fear-based acts. That happens sometimes. I'll do something like that. It'll be an opinion piece. That's out. Also, the newsletter's out. If you haven't signed up for that, there is a link below the video here, and you can sign up for that. I'd love you to do that. That's a lot of fun. Stuff that's on there that isn't on the blog. So, you can have an extra, window into some of the things I write that are there. So anyway, and I'm going to keep it that way. Some stuff is sometimes I'll excerpt things out of one of the books I've written, but mostly it's an informational newsletter. There's some affiliate stuff that's one of the reasons I did it, to expand that, but I'm not, intrusive about it. So it's mostly a newsletter with stuff to read, and stuff to learn. So there's herbal stuff on there and astrological stuff on there. So anyhow, that's really what the focus is. Although the reason I did it was to expand on that. That was just part of it. So, but I've been thinking about doing a newsletter for a couple years, and I just really didn't know how I would do it. And so far, I'm pretty happy with it. It's actually kind of flowed the way I wanted it to, without really realizing it. I just kind of went, oh, look at that. So in any event, check that out if you want to. The astrology as of 10 o'clock this morning, roughly 10:06, something like that. Everything's still in the Eastern Hemisphere, the fourth quadrant, again, goal orientation, guard against fanaticism, though. Right now, planets are in the 11th and 12th house still. Again, we're still reevaluating relationships. Are they serving us? Were they temporary? Were they transitory? Were they situational? Is it time to maybe go on to other things? Not necessarily that, something bad has happened. It's just, sometimes we ride the wave in friendships and relationships. And when it's just no longer, where we're at, then we move on. And it's, maybe we'll reconnect again another time, so it's kind of that kind of energy. Aries is the ascendant right now. Again, motivation, initiating, ego-oriented, kind of savior-oriented. Moon is in the 12th house in Pisces, so this is going to be a time to reflect, listen to intuition, engage in inner work. There's a semi-square with Saturn. See, this is one of these things when I talk about letting waves pass. Empaths understand this, primarily because we deal in these energetic waves all the time. If we respond to every little thing, then, we're caught up, we're absorbing energies we shouldn't. So we learn to step outside the wave and observe it. It's called observing and not absorbing. It's sort of an adage that empaths try to live by anyway. Just to observe the situation and don't absorb any of the energies or frequencies around you. Because pretty soon you can't discern what was yours and what, you get so caught up, suddenly you're upset and you think there's a reason for it. And it's only because you're grabbing onto someone else's energy, right? That's all that is. You're not upset at all. All of a sudden you are. And so you try to find a reason then for it. And usually we can come up with something. And so we then think it's ours and it's not. So again, if we allow it with the semi-square between the moon and Saturn, what that's saying is to allow negativity today to pass without responding to it. because this could be an energetic wave. And I'm going to probably tie that into something else here. Let's see, trine the North Node, you can take a new path right now. Sun, 11th house Aquarius, unconventional relationships. There's something with Neptune. Okay, yeah, that's going to be coming down there. What I look at here are the 7 sacred planets, is what I'm looking at mostly. Mercury, 11th house Aquarius, still unique ideas, inventive, rebelling against tradition. That's always Aquarian. Friendships and networking are important, so you're going to want to try to, unconventional friendships maybe will help you along your path today. Venus, 12th house in Pisces, emotions may be in flux still, so take time for reflection. Boundaries could be challenging. Again, that's an issue for empaths as well. Square Mars, patience may be lacking. That's still happening. Here's the conjunct between Venus and Neptune. Are we looking at life realistically? That's just one of those things. Now, here we're going to see it again with Mars. Mars in the 9th house of Sagittarius, a lot of fire energy there, a lot of action-oriented, adventuresome. Both can have an interesting type of focus. Controlling, definitely. But Mars square Neptune, this might be a day you want to escape and take some quiet time to reflect on your path. Again, Venus conjunct Neptune, are we looking at life realistically? So with this whole time where we're reflecting on our friendships and our relationships, that could be involved with that. So again, is some of the stuff you're involved in, is it very realistic right now? Jupiter still 10th house Capricorn, networking expands, career potential. Approach it though with resolve and integrity. We've got the Republicans talking today, I guess. Supposedly, I don't know. They only talked for an hour and a half or something on Friday or Saturday or whenever the heck they started. But I assume that today and tomorrow they'll speak more, but I don't know. But what they need to do is they need to understand that a lot of things are coming out now, including Bolton's little book excerpts. Their guy's done. So you can go out there and be an idiot, or you can act with integrity and resolve. And what they're saying today astrologically with Jupiter, look at your career. Don't squander it. Have integrity, right? Have honor about it all. So if that's going on for you, and it's not, about what's going on in Washington, D.C., then you could be having issues with authority. And you really always have to come down on that side of integrity and resolve. We've been talking lately, it's kind of felt like some people might be experiencing, some career changes. The problem is if you're not going to another place where you're not known, and you're advancing at the place you're at, people are accustomed to seeing you in a certain light. And so if some of that's changing and you're now a supervisor for them, there's going to have to be an adjustment on all sides, right? So whatever happens, make sure your behavior is one that's honorable and respects the sovereignty and dignity of the people that are now, you're supervising, because that relationship has changed. So anyhow, Saturn, 10th house, Capricorn, careful in selection of friends and associates. Again, some may end. And that's been now for a while. That's been aligning with, where the planets are all congregating as well. Again, conjunct Pluto still in effect. Ambition, yes, but use leadership in a positive way still. Again, if you've advanced in your career and now you're in a supervisory position over people that you used to be simply co-workers with, some of that's going to have to suffice for you. You're going to have to think about that. So in any event, let's go ahead and get started. I think that's enough of that. I don't think I have anything left to add. No, I need to go back up the other way. There we go. But do check out the blog over there at Stepping Aside, and click subscribe here if this is your first time. I'd love you to do that. Come back and visit with us. I do this 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and the rest of the time I write like a madwoman. So, well, I write like a madwoman during the week too. So anyway, because that's what I am. I'm a writer. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. We'll take our first 3 cards and see what we have. Again, I'm going to take the 13th card each time for randomness sake. If we don't need a 4th card, I'll move on to taking a rune out of the rune bag from the Elder Futhark, and then we'll close out by creating a geomancy rune. And kind of see where if it's an outlier or if it's kind of oftentimes it ends up being sort of the foundation, of what's going on in the reading. So it's kind of interesting how that works out that way. So, and if we can add a little something from the astrology that we talked about just now, then we'll do that too. So in any event, let's get started and take our first 3 cards. 11, 12, 13. Well, we have the Hangman. 12th card of the Major Arcana, a 3 energy, soul archetype card. Been getting a lot of them lately. Sometimes they're the focal point of the reading. Sometimes I get 2. And so they're influencing the center card, the significator or the focal point. I've kind of been doing these in yod fashion, the energetic movement in a yod. And it's an astrological aspect. It looks like an elongated triangle. Well, we have the Moon. 18th card of the Major Arcana, a 9 energy. So we have a 3 and a 9. So both reflect inner work. So I don't know. We'll see. Moon sometimes is the unknown, deception. Sometimes a shadow side of self. Maybe we're hanging upside down and we're trying to gain enlightenment. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what the 3rd card is. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sometimes my hands work in the morning and sometimes they don't. Well, we have another 9 with the 9 of Cups. Fulfillment, emotional fulfillment. He's such a happy guy, isn't he? Well, we'll put him in the middle and we'll see if we need a 4th card. But typically, when I end up with 2 majors, that I don't usually end up needing a 4th, but we'll see. So we have 9 and 9 is 18. That's another 9. And 3 is 12. So we have a 3 energy for the reading. We have a 9 energy today with the 27th. We have a 22 energy for the year. We have new beginnings of 1 for the month. So beginnings and endings today in this cosmic builder year. So that's what the numerology is. So we're looking again, though, at a 3 energy. 9 is the triple aspect of, the multiple of 3. And that's something that just happens whenever you're working with 3 energies and 6s and 9s and whatnot. It's usually going to end up being a 3 energy. 3s are about, let's just look here really quick. And 3 is a catalyst. It's triple aspects. This is from Witch Notes, the most recent book I published. The middle, analogy, gamma, triad, Jupiter and Capricorn, Hecate, triangle, the Norns of fate. Om is also a 3 energy. So it's very catalytic. It's something that is, it's a reflection of sacred geometry, isn't it? And it's really the building structure of things. And so it's one of the reasons why I look at, this in terms of like a yod aspect where we have a focal point and we have the other 2 that are informing that focal point, and that's what we have here today. So let's start with the 9 of Cups. Cups is emotions. We see 9 cups arranged on a wall of some kind. I don't know what it is. It kind of looks like there's fabric draped over it, doesn't it? But he's sitting there with his man spreading, and he's on his bench, and he's got his arms crossed. He's a man of means. You can tell by that hat he's wearing. Now, whether or not he's the king, I don't know. If he is, then he's sort of in his dressing gown, basically. He's relaxing. He's at home. He's not, in his kingly robes. He's in his pajamas, basically, is what it looks like, doesn't it? He could be a merchant. I don't know, but it also could be the king. But we'll just say he's a man of means, and he's gotten to the 9 is about endings, right, and completion. But what you could draw from this is he's completely emotionally fulfilled. He's happy. All things are just, and he's not crossing his arms in self-defense. He's just He's just like, okay, I'm cool, right? That's all he is. That's all he's doing. But how did he get that way? Or how does he preserve it? So let's look at the hangman. Here we see 9 actually reflected in this card. We see triple aspects reflected, threes 3 times. We see 1, 2, 3. We see 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay? So we see triple aspects in the hangman. Here, we're going to hang upside down. When it's reflected as Odin, he's hanging out upside down from the world tree. You'll see that in some decks. They use Odin for this person. But he's hanging upside down to gain alignment. He's in enlightenment. He's aligning in source presence. You can see the radiant energy from his head there, from his crown chakra. And that's source presence informing. This is basically it's taking time out. We've seen today astrologically where we want to take time out and reflect. Well, that's what we're doing. And how are we achieving emotional fulfillment? You know, astrologically, we've seen that, you know, maybe some of that emotional fulfillment has become, has happened because of our involvement with new groups of people. And right now we're taking some time to reflect on that choice. And is that really, will those relationships actually create a feeling of completion or complete emotional fulfillment? Is that really going, in other words, is it going to sustain us going forward? And right now, you know, astrologically, it's suggesting no, that's not going to be the case. So we're going to be looking at that to try to then sculpt what that emotional fulfillment really does look like. And we're going to go within to do that. So one of the components then of emotional fulfillment could be said is alignment in spirit, isn't it? Now, when we go here, we have a 9 energy. We see the familiar theme of a pathway coming down from the mountains to a body of water, or to something anyway. We see the 2 pillars, the 2 towers. We see the dogs barking. One's dark, one's light. So we're really expressing the balance between the shadow side of self and spirit. Again, one can say then that that's the component of emotional fulfillment, is bringing those 2 things in balance, aligning most of it, having it more heavily weighted on spirit, informing the whole thing. But here we have the path. We see the lobster coming out of the pool. And the lobster sheds its skin. And so a lobster will signify regeneration or rebirth, rejuvenation, transition. This is a card of mystery. It's a card of deception. But it's also a card of inner balance. The moon's not too happy that the dogs are barking at it, but that's what we have here. And I think what has happened is that we've made a choice. We understand that we have to align in source presence. We have to be aligned in who we really are. The body is not who we are. It's an illusion. It's simply a vehicle that we create. We slow down a little piece of our energy, our greater soul energy, to form this aspect of self. The rest of it is supposed to be informing that whole process while we're here. However, that isn't actually what happens. Ego ends up informing, and then we have to balance, don't we? Ego with spirit. And with the lobster coming out of the water, it's suggesting that we shed what doesn't work, that we shed the negativity. Again, let's go back to the astrology here. What one was that? The moon, semi-square Saturn, allow negativity to pass without response. It could simply be an energetic wave that you're experiencing. Here's the thing about energy. Empaths know this. Highly sensitive people know this. We do this. Energy does this. It's like a sine wave. We see them, you know, if you've seen sine waves, if you've seen a biorhythm chart, if you just go online, Google one, get one for your iPad or your phone or whatever, get an app. Check in and put your birth date in, you know, your name and your birth date. Figure out what and then check it. If you're feeling out of sorts, if you don't know why, check your biorhythm. It could be that, something is in the negatives. And if it is, understand that this is a wave and it's going to come back up. So look ahead, because you can do that too. And you can see, well, when is this going to get better for me? And then just sort of pay attention and see if that doesn't happen. See if you just sort of naturally begin feeling better cognitively. Maybe, things, you can start reading and understanding what you're reading. I have days where I can look at something and I have to read it 4 or 5 times. And it's like, and so I'll look at my biorhythm and sure enough, intellect's really low. So no matter what I do, this isn't the time to, begin working on my book or whatever, right? Or a research type of thing, anything where I have to really, really focus. The intellectual cognitive ability just isn't there right then. And we all experience that, again, because our energy functions in a sine wave. It's just what happens. And so sometimes if we take the bait, if we rise to the occasion, every single time something happens, you're going to be in constant conflict all the time. Whereas if you step back and you observe the wave and check in first before you react and say, okay, is this just something that's happening? Do I really need to respond to this? Once you get into that habit, that's how empaths decide what's worth, risking absorbing someone else's energy over. That's what we're really doing when we're checking things out before we decide to feel in. It's like, is this worth it to me? I could get captured. I don't know that I want to do that, right? I might get so caught up, it's going to take a bit to free myself, to free my focus. But rest assured, that's all it is. It's just focus. It's where you put your attention. If you choose not to, if you change the quality of it and you lean back and you don't engage, you can observe things. Of course, you can't do it for very long, but you can observe it. You can see what it is and go, oh yeah, I don't need to be involved in that, and move on, right? So I think that's the message behind here, though, is that what we need to do for a true emotional fulfillment, we need to align in source presence and have that inform the whole process. When we do that, then we can balance the shadow side of self, transmuting negativity, transmuting the ego into spirit, where it belongs, and it can function better. Then it's not this energetic pull between spirit and ego that we seem to experience all the time. The whole notion of the angel and the devil on the shoulder, right? Well, that's all that is. It's this pull that we have between the two that we try not to experience, and yet we seem to all the time. I don't think we need a 4th card, so let's go ahead and take a rune and see what kind of influence we can have there. I'll just let them fall through my fingers, and when the last one's there, that's the one. Last week, I think it was on Thursday, I could not get them to do that. It's like most of the runes stayed in my hand forever. It's like, come on, guys. Vunyo, the 8th rune of the Elder Futh Arc. Fellowship, joy, harmony, both within and without. We've got a couple different runes here contained within this. Most of the runes are bind runes in and of themselves. And when it's not just Isa or something, or Kenaz or something, then I like to draw them out for you so you can understand that these are actually, multiple energies contained within. And if you think about their individual energies, then you can see why they have the interpretation that they do. So here's Vunyo. We have Isa, alignment. We have Laguz, flow from spirit. It's also one that when you're trying to dissolve energies that disparate energies you've extended to other people, also known as channels, or they also sometimes call it cutting cords. I find that hard to be harsh, though. I just don't think of it that way. I think of it in terms of dissolving channels, because you can always, reattach if you need to. But sometimes you just got to bring it all back. And one way you can do that, you can chant Laguz, visualize Laguz, and use it as a hook to bring back your energies. It's a magical net is what it is. Then we also have Kenaz, but we have it reversed. So the light of spirit is turned inward, isn't it? You don't wait In other words, for spirit to find you. You are spirit. And spirit needs to be informing, the fellowship process all the time. Because when that happens, you see, then you see other people as the other side of self instead of the other. And so the push-pull aspect of life, softens. And, they're family. They're not the other or the enemy or someone you need to fear, right? So I think that when you express Bunyo in your life, you have this, don't you? But you understand that although, sure, there's a give and take with people with this, it has to come from within. And that's why with Bunyo, you see the light of Ken has turned within. So, where are my elemental geomancy runes? I had my rune bag sitting on them. You can do geomancy a variety of ways. You can take a handful of peas or beans and throw them down. If there's an even number, then it's 2 dots you write down. If it's an odd number, you would write 1 dot. I decided that that's just, I don't know, too much. You're putting these in the order. If you do that, you're throwing them down 4 times, and you're creating a glyph that has 4 levels. Okay, so I just decided, and they're all put in elemental order: fire, air, water, and earth. Right. So I just decided, why not do 4 runes, have them be coded elementally with 2 dots on one side, 1 on the other, and there you go. So what I do is I just throw them down, and then I put them in the order that they are. So I have a single dot for fire, 2 dots for air, 1 for water, and 1 for earth. So what we have there is, let's see, is that Puella or Pure? I think it's Pure. Let me make sure. No, it's Puella. Pure's the other way. And I will show you what that is. So this is Puella. There's really 8 geomancy runes, but their complement or opposite makes it so there's 16. So this is Puella. This is Pure. That's its complement. We're talking youthful energy with both of them, though. Puella, though, is a female energy, so it's a little bit older than the Pure, than the boy. Pure is more lack of impulse control. Both of them are, but whereas I think, let's see, with Puella, is that Libra? Yeah, it's Venus in Libra, whereas Pure is Mars in Aries. So with Pure, you're looking at fire energy. That's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up, because I wanted to look at the difference between these two. Puella is about air. So when you think of Puella, you're thinking of a flighty little girl. Maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. With Pure, you're talking about 7, 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old boy, a little bit younger. More impulse control, but you can see the both of them. You're looking at masculine and feminine energies. Okay, you've got Mars and Libra. All right, and so with Puella, you're looking at someone who is just maybe a little bit out of balance. And realistically, we're talking about this card here. We're bringing things into balance. You can look at it in terms of masculine and feminine energies, or you can look at it projective, receptive presence. You can look at it as ego and spirit, or ego, higher self. But basically what you're talking about is it's reflecting a little bit of a shaky alignment, a little bit lack of impulse control, maybe a little more flighty. Not really somebody, I mean, she's fortunate, but so positive things can happen with this energy. It's just that it's a little bit erratic, maybe given to following the crowd a little bit. And so I think that probably what we're looking at there is relating to what we talked about evaluating friendships right now. Sometimes, again, a Puella energy is going to get caught up in exciting cause-oriented energies. Let's go be part of that. That looks like fun, But at some point, you have to come back down to earth and you realize it's not providing your emotional fulfillment. So, again, today, the geomancy rune is really describing the foundation of all of this. I think that right now, if we got carried away with ourselves in some particular fashion, it's time to realign with the hangman and figure out just exactly where am I deriving my true pleasure, my true emotional security, my true satisfaction. And if I need to do a bit of alignment work between the shadow side of self and spirit, then that's what needs to happen here. We need to choose maybe a different path to emotional fulfillment. One fostered in joy and fellowship with others instead of, expression of the isms and of hate and all of that that's been happening. So if that's part of what's going on for you, then I think you're going to start to see a shift in perception and a shift in desire, really, to something that's a little more lofty, a little bit more security-based, where love is expressed instead of, some of this other conflict-oriented stuff that's been going on. So I guess that's it. Not too bad for a Monday. Again, we're looking at a 9 energy for the day, new energy, new beginnings for a 1 energy for the month, and a 22 for the year. So beginnings and endings today. And a focus on something better. So I don't know. We'll see. Lots of catalytic things going on in our country. We'll see what this all has to do with that. I don't know yet, other than maybe personal choice in how you see all of that, maybe. Where you've placed your focus in the past maybe is not going to be where you're going to place your focus going forward, because so many new things are coming out that are corroborating. And that's the thing. We have a 22 year, and I'm going to close with this because I think it's important. People scoff at the idea of numerology, but there's too much there for it not to be real. There has to be some geometric quality to life, and numbers describe that. Now, there are certain energies associated with them. The cosmic builder is manifestation, and it's soul level. This is a 22 year. And so something profound is going to happen. Now, hopefully, it will set us on our course that's to come, and that it will be soul-based and ascension-based and bringing us into alignment with who we really are and who we really are to one another. This constant conflict, it should not be. It's not that the inner not these, the friction within shouldn't be there to grow and develop and become and all of that. You can argue about what that looks like, but at least we're all arguing about going in the same direction. And that's not what's been going on. So it's a fragmented, grievance-based type of experience that people are having right now. And people feel adrift, and so they congregate in their groups and whatnot. But they're not enough to sustain us. We have to bring them all together and have some kind of unified path forward. And this year, we're starting to see that. Now, maybe the last few years have been simply there to catalyze that awareness that we need to do that, to prepare us and give us enough information that things are wrong, so much wrong that we now have to begin anew. Right? And if you look at the last 3 years, that's really what's been going on. Lots of, a lot of people have died in tragic ways, violent ways, gun violence. We don't want to address that. We don't want to address any part of that. But you have to ask, well, why? What do you need that much freedom with a gun that a background check is going to interfere with? Are you afraid of what they're going to find and they won't give you one? Is that what you're afraid of? Well, then why is your background like that? Do something to fix it. But don't, err on the side of running amok with things. So again, it's a balanced perspective. I'm a gun owner. My husband's a gun owner. Have been all my life. I've shot guns all my life. I have no problem with background checks. I have no problem with gun laws. They make sense to me. It's a huge responsibility to have a gun and to have any kind of weapon. I'm also a martial artist. So maybe, I don't know, maybe my perspective on this is just different because my life has been different, you know. My husband's a veteran, completely for gun control, does not understand what any of this is that's going on with respect to, you know, no, don't take it, you know, liberals are going to take our guns. No, we're not. We have guns. Why would we do that? Makes no sense. You know, think. It doesn't make sense. I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't, because it's not true. I don't know. I'm not giving anybody my guns. No way. They're mine. Why would I do that? Why would you? You wouldn't. But we can have some kind of structure around it so that we can all have them in a way that makes sense and, you know, that can protect us. You know, it's there for protection. Because when you talk about it any other way, you got to ask yourself, well, is this really about protection? Because I don't think so. Why do you need, you know, I don't know. We heard gunfire. It prompted me to write that piece that I wrote. Gunfire, machine gun, not bump stock, not semi-auto, full auto. Yesterday, sitting out on the porch, not far from my home. I don't want to hear stuff like that. Makes me nervous. So, I don't know. I think that we're in this place now, and this 22 year is so profound and so powerful, and it's soul-based. So, whatever we think is going to happen, we might be right. Odds are we're not. Odds are something so much more profound is about to take place, based on awareness and understanding. So, if this is something that is happening in your life, perhaps something profound is going to happen this year. I hope so. I hope something profound will happen in my life. My life is in flux right now, and I'm not really sure where I fit in it anymore. And so I'm hoping that through focused effort, something profound will happen in my life this year that takes me out of that feeling of insecurity, and one where I have a more firmer foothold, where I know where I fit in this world, where I know where I fit in my family, where I fit in my community. And if I'm experiencing this, how many other people are experiencing it as well? So whether we're looking at the big 22 event, if you want to call it that, or the process being, you know, really collective in nature, such as in our country or the world, or, you know, something like that, or whether there's something going on that's so profound in your personal life where this is the year to create something new. I think we have to take advantage of it. I think the cards are sending us in that direction. I think the runes are. So pay attention to this and allow for the change to take place that needs to happen. Allow the heart-centered approach to work for you instead of fearing that. And I think that we're going to come out on the other side of this year in a much different place. So in any event, come back tomorrow, click subscribe, check out the links below the video, and check out my blog, and, you know, go see what's over there. There's always something fun over there. So anyhow, thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.